topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Welcome to the Ask the Expert Show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV, where we bring you educational information from experts on such topics as legal, health, financial, and home improvement. Now sit back and listen to our experts in community association law, estate planning law, tax relief, Medicare, public insurance adjusters, neuropathy treatment, business brokers, and personal injury law, along with many other topics. Now, here's your host for the last 17 years, Steve O.
And the most beautiful city on earth. Welcome to another Ask the Expert Show, where we bring you the top experts in the field of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. I am so proud of this show for the next 25 minutes. This show has risen so fast, just so to kind of give you an example. Our show is just starting. Now, we've been promoting it for the last 2 days. It's already gotten 312 likes already on TikTok, and we're just starting the show. But I want to welcome one of the finest tax relief attorneys in the United States, Attorney Lance Drury. Good afternoon, attorney.
Good afternoon, Steve. It's always great to be here. It's been a while, but it's good to see you again.
Yeah, Lance, I got to tell you, we do 3 shows a month. In fact, this Monday at 9:25 Eastern time, we will be doing our national show. And like I was just saying, we've already got 324 likes already, and our show is just starting. But we get so many letters, Lance, about your show. And here's what's so important. This is a show you don't want to go up. I've got my title of the show, You Do Not Want to Go Up Against the IRS Alone. But here's the problem. There's so many people who've been taken advantage of by these national firms, even though, hey, Lance, I consider he's a national firm, but they have been screwed around, taken advantage of, that people are scared now. And what I hope with this show, Lance, is we will convince somebody to give your firm, give them that one more chance. You didn't take advantage of them, and not all firms are like that, correct?
Well, that's true, and it's not just law firms. It's any practitioner who is able to represent people before the IRS, and there's a lot of bad actors out there. I don't blame people for being skeptical, so there's a lot of problems, but you got to understand, people, everything is screwed up with the IRS. It's not just the practitioners. The IRS is so slow now because they're so short-handed. They don't have enough people. They're not properly trained. Everything is taking forever. You didn't get here overnight, and neither I nor anybody else is going to get you out of this overnight, or you're going to pay the whole thing back. If you want the best possible deal, you're going to have to spend a lot of time on your case, and we're going to have to spend a lot of time on your case. That's just how it works. There is no quick fix. You don't hire me and I wave a magic wand and the problem goes away tomorrow. I wish it did. I wouldn't have to work so hard. I wouldn't be going to my St. Louis office on a Saturday, Steve, if it worked that way, but that's what you got to do to give the best possible service to people.
Lance, I swear you're always meeting somebody on a Saturday. Supposedly should be your day off with how hard you work, but when it comes to customer services, should tell you how Lance runs his firm. I mean, he's even here working on a Saturday.
Well, that's what you got to do. And I'll probably work a couple hours Sunday morning But, I'll get back from St. Louis tomorrow, maybe about 1 o'clock or so, and I'll have the rest of the day off, and that's fine. And so, I enjoy it, Steve. If I didn't enjoy it, I wouldn't do it. I don't have to work. I'm 72. I've got it made. But this week, Steve, now this is not the norm, but it probably will be the new norm. I was in here 3 days this week at 5:30 in the morning. In fact, yesterday I got here at 5:30 and I worked till after 5 o'clock yesterday. So I was in bed at 8 o'clock and I didn't come in at 5:30 this morning. I got here about 6:30, 6:45 this morning. So, I don't do that every day, but I'm going to be doing that probably 3 days a week. And that's okay because, Steve, I'm 72. There's no reason to stay up beyond 8, 9 o'clock at night. So, this gives me a reason to keep going. I love doing this. This gives me a lot of inspiration to help so many people out. And the fact that so many people are getting something out of this show is why I keep doing it. I'm just so happy, so proud, and so grateful that we're able to do this as a public service to people.
Well, Lance, I want to reiterate that, we've been doing this for 17 years and we've got an incredible mailing list. So between us and between TikTok and YouTube and iHeart promoting your show, people will just write us telling us they said, I've never written to a show before. This is my first time, but I really appreciate the show you do with Attorney Drury. And that just makes me feel so good.
Well, I'm glad, Steve. I'm glad you reached out and found me because I would never have done that. And, I've heard about podcasts for years, but I know you didn't know this, Steve, but I'm kind of old school.
Me too.
I'm not used to all this stuff, but they say you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, I got to tell you, if you're going to be running a business in this day and age, things change so much. You got to be on top of it. You got to be flexible. You got to be able to adapt because things are constantly changing, including the IRS, which is why we spend 50 to 100 hours or more a year just keeping up with what's going on with the IRS.
Listen, Lance, you've got a great show. When people write in and tell you that how come your show's not longer, I'm just getting into your show and it's already over. 25 minutes is a long time, but it does go fast. But listen, when people write that to you, they love you. Tell people, we've got so many new listeners and viewers, Lance. Tell people about your firm.
Well, Steve, before I do that, I just want to say that's amazing that people want to stick around for 25 minutes in this day and age. I did another podcast, but it was probably 12 to 15 minutes long. And that's long because, everybody wants everything right now. Their attention span, if you don't do this now, they're going somewhere else. That's why we have 24/7 answering service, because if they don't, they'll go somewhere else. But here's what we do, Steve. We represent individuals and businesses that have tax problems with the IRS. Now that stems, that's audits, that's criminal investigation, that's offers in compromise, that's installment agreements, that's currently non-collectible, that's identity theft. Sometimes we have to go to court in the state of Missouri for unpaid sales tax because people have been charged criminally with that. So we do the whole gamut with the IRS, and this is all we do. And I got to tell you something, Steve, we got to be doing something right. Me and my legal assistant, who was with me when I ran 8 public defender offices in Southeast Missouri back in the early 90s, she came back 15 years ago. She just retired. And we sat down and we said, Donna, my God, look at what we've done in we went from 60 clients to almost 1,000, and we keep growing the business. And I just talked to my media guy today, and he said, it's amazing, because he deals with other guys that I know throughout the United States with their radio. And he said, their business slows down in the summer, but he goes, yours still kind of stays up there. In fact, And we beat this earlier this year. But in June last year, we set a record revenue month. And then in August, we broke it. That is unbelievable for that to happen in the summer. And this month is good. It's not as good as the last 3 months, but it's almost as good.
That's
we're
amazing.
revamping our marketing strategy. We're trying to reach more people. We want to help more people out. We got a new person coming in August the 17th. She's got over 12 years experience working in a tax resolution firm. She's been with the firm licensed for 6 years. So we're going to keep expanding so that we can help more people out and keep up the quality of service that we render.
Well, I got to get this in. I put it at the top of my list. It's from a TikTok viewer. He said, I've watched, I say he, I don't know if he's a he or she. I've watched your show, your last 3 shows. I want to personally thank you. I have learned so much. I believe you have the best educational show on TikTok. Tax mistakes can lead to IRS audits. So we are so thankful for your show. That's a nice letter.
Oh, Steve, that's just wonderful. It's why we keep doing this. And, I'm just so glad you found me so that we have the opportunity to do this. And I'm just great you have the ability to reach so many people, because I have to tell you, I did another podcast and it's not anywhere close to the number of people that we're reaching with your show.
I know, it's amazing.
I'm just so happy about all that. I'm just so glad to be here. I'm glad that we're national now, and I'm glad that so many people can benefit from everything that we talk about here.
This is why your business thrives. It's amazing. It's almost like you're a professor. The way you teach this, people want to listen. I want to get this in too. This is also from TikTok. I wanted to tell you, I rarely stay on a podcast, but I always stay on the entire time because you make your show so interesting. I only wish your show was longer. I hope you take that as a compliment. And I want to tell you, I'm looking at TikTok. This is one of the things that's so great about TikTok. We've been on about maybe less than 10 minutes. There's already 902 likes so far. That's amazing. For such a short time, it's incredible. But let's get to the questions, because so many people have written questions in. And I want to start off with Jerome in Temple, Texas. He says, I'm worried that if I hire your firm, the IRS will handle my case different in a wrong way.
That is not true. That is not true at all. And that's a legitimate fear, because people do come to me and they're afraid of that. Well, it's the exact opposite. And I've had this because I've had people that dealt with the IRS on their own before they came to me, and the IRS takes it. They know that lay people do not know how the game is played, but they know how we play the game, and they know we know how to play the game. That's why we spend $50 to $100 or more a year just keeping up on this stuff. So that's exactly not true. In fact, I got to tell you, the other day, I got a new attorney out of Oklahoma City. She's got over 12 years experience. She's excellent. She talked to a revenue officer the other day. And, she was with another firm. And I guess when they do the trust fund civil penalty, they'll go in and talk to them. And for anybody that knows, if a business person has unpaid payroll taxes, the revenue officer wants to conduct what's called a trust fund civil penalty, because they can come after the responsible party, who's generally the owner, for the unpaid portion of the payroll tax that's attributable to the employee. That's 50 to 60% of the total tax. And so she's on the phone with the guy, and he goes, well, I would ask for you to bring your client in and talk to us about the trust fund penalty, but you work for Lance Drury, and I know he's not going to let you come in and talk to us or let your client talk to us. And I told her, I said, and here's why, because the statute that finds you responsible as a responsible party for purposes of asserting the trust fund civil penalty is identical to the federal statute for tax evasion, which is a felony. And if you think, and I was a criminal defense attorney historically, did week-long murder trials once. If you think I'm going to send my client in to confess to a felony, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. None of my clients are going to go in. In fact, it's a condition of our continued employment. You sign up, you agree never to contact the IRS again. We don't want you to, not just because you may say the wrong thing, but then we don't know what's going on. We can't argue with them if they say this is what the conversation was about, because we're not privy to the conversation. So you need professional help, because they're going to take a different attitude, because they know they can't pull the wool over our eyes like they can a layperson.
Makes sense. Let's go to our next question. This is from Mike in Laredo, Texas. He says, as a business owner, I really enjoy your show. Is it hard to qualify for hardship relief for a business?
Well, I wouldn't say that it's extremely difficult, but here's the thing. If the business isn't making money, they're going to say that you're not a viable business. That means you got to pay all your bills, including the IRS. So if the business isn't making any money and you're not paying the IRS, you're going to have a harder argument to try to get that financial hardship and keep the business going. Now, we've done it, but I'm not going to tell you we've done it in each and every case. But yes, it can be done. And if you're in that kind of bind, you better get legal help to get you out of this bind, because the IRS is coming after you sooner or later. Steve, I know we've talked about this before, but here's the thing. The service is terrible, except for one thing. Because of artificial intelligence, they're coming after people quicker now. In 2025, the IRS raised as much money from delinquent taxpayers as they did in 2024, because now AI is sending out all these nasty letters. The time frames are collapsing between letters. They're getting to people sooner. You don't want to wait. You want to get on this right away before it becomes extremely problematical and they wipe out your bank accounts, take your wages, take 100% of your 1099s.
Well, I'm trying to decide of all these questions, which one is most important, but this has got to be the most important. Tell people what happens if they try to handle this themselves, and what can go wrong when they talk to the IRS themselves rather than hire a firm like yours.
Well, first of all, anything you say to the IRS can be used against you, particularly audits. I have seen those go criminal by what people told them. If you hire an attorney, whatever the attorney tells them, they are not going to use against you. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, and this happens mostly with revenue officers and it's small business people, they will send them what's called a summary of taxpayer contact. That's a form number 9297, and they're going to ask for this whole laundry list of financial information. Well, people think they can do this on their own, so they think they've sent everything in. Next thing I know, they're levied, and then they call me. And they tell me, well, I sent them everything that they asked for, but they didn't. And we find that out. And here's the thing. It says that at the bottom, if you don't get this in by X date, we can levy you. So the IRS, the revenue officer, is not going to call the layperson and say, hey, I need this, this, and this. Their first response is to levy. They don't do that to us because we know what we're doing. We know everything. And if there's something else the IRS says they need, we ask them when we send them in, is there anything else you need? So they're not going to go out and levy the client unless the client's just totally non-responsive. So that's why you don't want to do this on your own. It's a huge mistake to do this on your own. Fork out the money because it's going to cost you a lot more money in the long run if you don't. Steve, I'm going to give you a small example. I know we're running short on time already. Can you believe it?
I know,
we're almost
it's amazing.
at the 20-minute mark, and it seems like we just started. But anyway, we had a guy out of Nashville. This is several months ago. He'd been dealing with the IRS for 10 years on his own. Revenue officers. So he came to us because he finally got an aggressive revenue officer who wasn't going to let go of him. So, of course, we quoted him a big fee for a retainer. He owed $1 million. He didn't hire us. 2 weeks later, they took everything he owned. He was in his mid-50s. Every last dime of his retirement, every asset he owned. And, of course, then at that point, it's always much harder to get it back. And he just kind of gave up at that point. But that's the problem with thinking that you can do this on your own.
Oh, absolutely. What's the average? I know every case is different. What's the average time a case are you talking months or a year?
You're talking 9 to 12 months minimum. In fact, the president of the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers said, if you're not spending at least 9 months on your client's case, you're not getting them the best possible deal. But, Steve, we have cases that go on for a year, 2 years. I had one with a lady this morning. We've had it for 4 years. We got her into currently non-collectible status. We called them 4 or 5 times. They've never issued a formal currently non-collectible status. Then we filed a collection due process hearing request when they were going to levy her. It's been a year later. They haven't scheduled the hearing. So the IRS is causing things to take much longer. And here's the other thing, Steve. I tell everybody you're wasting your money if you don't do what I ask you to do, because we can't help you. If you don't give us the information we asked for, your case isn't going to go anywhere. You got to have the last 6 years' tax returns prepared and filed, or you can't even ask for a deal. And you got to give us the financial information we need, because the IRS is going to require that if you want to pay less than the full amount back to the IRS. So I tell everybody, don't waste your money hiring me if you're not going to do what we ask you to do.
Lance, people can go to your website, or I'll give out it's 888-367-6512 for those of you who are listening audio only. You have a website?
Yes, it's lancedrurylaw.com. Go there. There's a lot of great information there.
Lance is going to be back again this Monday at 9:25 Eastern Time. Lance, have a wonderful weekend. We ended up with over 1,652 likes. Not bad for a 25-minute show.
Well, you know what? Let's get to 2,000 the next time, Steve.
You're the best. Love you, my friend.
Steve. Okay, you have a great weekend. I'll see you Monday.
Monday. Okay, that's attorney Lance Drury. We're going to go to a break. We're going to be right back.
Thanks for tuning in today to the Ask the Expert show on W4CY Radio and Talk4 TV. Tune in next week and every week to hear more from our experts on personal injury, insurance, air condition repairs, estate planning, Medicare, and many other topics in the areas of legal, health, financial, and home improvement. See you next week.